Welcome back everybody, Max here, and today I wanted to give you a follow-up video on the previous one that I did all about Dice's netcode patch, came down with the spring patch. I just thought I'd throw another one together, clear up a couple of points from the first one, and just give you an update as to what Dice is doing, time frames and all that kind of fun stuff, and just keep everybody up to speed and abreast of the situation. So first of all, out of the first video, I claimed that Australia does not have dedicated servers. Well, apparently they do. I did not know that, but one of the guys down in the comments mentioned that, and I appreciate the feedback. If I'm wrong on anything, then by all means let me know. I'm not infallible, only human, just so same as everybody else, so you know, I'm able to make mistakes. And while rattling off the commentary like I'm doing right now, got myself obviously carried away and listed some places and was, you know, thinking all about those. But one I did miss is Asia. That was pointed out to me as well, so good and bad. I missed Asia and was wrong about Australia, so let's clear that up right from the get-go. So that being said, let's move on and find out exactly what Dice have done. So this comes off their Reddit page, and I'll read it real fast here, and then I'll go briefly back through it and explain it to you. It says netcode implemented per region, threshold settings for server-side hit detection: 130 milliseconds for the United States and Europe, 200 milliseconds elsewhere. Fixed server-side hit registration interpolation, leading shot only necessary by the margin above the threshold, e.g. for US at 150 milliseconds ping, you have to lead by 20 milliseconds. Fixed latency display for server, which is also responsible for decision if it's to perform client or server-side hit registration. Fixed input offsets for server-side hit registration to match client-side, and fixed wrong hit indicator display when dying. Well, that's a whole bunch of technical babble, which to some will mean something, to some others it will mean nothing. In a big nutshell, basically what they're going to do, if you live in the States or you live in Europe, then the ping cap is being increased from 100 to 130, and if you are anywhere else outside of those regions, i.e. Asia, South Africa, Malaysia, places like that, then your ping cap will be raised to 200 milliseconds. So will that make a difference? It may not. It will certainly reduce some of the effects that you've been experiencing. But to be fair, now knowing this, and I did state this before, I've made this statement in a comment before, without knowing how Dice have implemented a ping cap, it's very, very difficult to pick the bones of it apart and figure out what's gone wrong and how. So just a straight up ping cap wouldn't have caused the problems that we have. And sure enough, when you start reading down this list and you see server-side registration interpolation, they have a problem that side, then you start to understand that they made a couple of tweaks and altered some numbers down the pipeline there that actually did need to be altered. And if you don't understand what interpolation is, it's about predicting where you are within the server-side area, for want of a better word. It's a very difficult topic to explain, and without really understanding the way data traffic works, it's very difficult. But basically, if you see a person on the screen in let's say it's on St. Quentin Scar, and the guy that you're looking at, and then there's another guy off to your left, well, if you're staring at the guy right in front of you, both of these players, you're actually seeing them in the past. Although it looks to you as if you're seeing them right here, right now, you're actually seeing them in the past. That when you actually shoot at them, you shoot at where they were, not where they are in the server's mind. In your world, it's exactly where they were, and that's to do with interpolation. Now, if you screw with the settings and you mess with that time delay, and it is a time delay, and it's typically 100 milliseconds is the time delay between the server and the client side. And if you don't understand server client side terminology, client side is basically you and your Xbox, your PC, your PS4, whatever it is you're playing on, and the server is obviously the server that Dice has provided, or sorry, EA has provided for you. So that's what client server terminology is all about right there. So they put a deliberate delay in it when they when they use the tick rates to put the interpolation within what is effectively a very small particle frame, and they drop data within that, the data is delayed when it comes back to you. So you're always shooting people in the past. It's just it happens so quickly you can't actually see it. Gives their server time to do a few things, gives your client side stuff time to upload the information to the server, and vice versa, pull it back down. So if you mess with the interpolation and you start adding and decreasing numbers within that, then you're going to see, in what, as a player's perspective, you're going to see crazy bullet detection or no bullet detection and just crazy stuff like that, because you are actually always playing under lag. You're playing in the past, and that's designed by default, and that's how this works. So they've made a mistake with that, and they've said they've rectified it. And again, leading the shot only necessary by the margin above the threshold. So if you are above the threshold, in this case now of 130, it says you are going to have to lead your target by 20 milliseconds. And again, this comes back to the interpolation yet again. So instead of you having 100 millisecond delay, now you've got 120 millisecond delay plus the 30 that they've added, giving you a total millisecond delay of 150. Now what that translates to on the screen, well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see to make the adjustments. The problem with these figures is that when you read it on a page, the figure is static, when in the real world, of course, these numbers are actually variable, so it could go up and it could go down. However, give credit where credit is due, they have made a mistake with the interpolation, so some of this should be rectified and you won't be seeing quite as bad hit registration as you've currently seen. Fix the latency display for the server, which is also responsible for the decision to perform client or server-side hit registration. So they also had a latency problem with their own servers, or they've messed with the numbers there, so that when on your screen, when you see it pulls the trigger, on their end the timings are basically off, and the latency figures are not tallying up. Now you combine that with interpolation and all the other factors that go up to trying to make a very fluid first-person shooter game, which is multi-dynamical and it moves all the time, then you start ending up with some very, very big problems, which is most of what everybody's been experiencing. I think what's going to happen is we're going to see that the latency, the ping caps have been increased, and from that, all of a sudden, everybody's going to settle down and not be screaming anymore because everything's settled out. I don't honestly think that the ping cap, now knowing what we know, is actually the problem. The problems mainly stem just due because I think somebody's punched a 1 in when they maybe should have entered a 0, or vice versa. So we've what you're seeing and the problems we have with hit indicators and all that kind of stuff is all to do with the way that they changed the code fundamentally, which we didn't know before. All they told us was they'd put a ping cap on it and left it at that. And so these are, well, that's what I think that's what I think was broadcast. If they did go into great detail, then by all means let me know and I stand corrected, but I don't want to make false claims that I don't know. But from what I understand, they said, oh, we've capped it at 100 milliseconds and we're good to go. So they've done all of those things, and they've also fixed the input offset for the server side hit registration to match the client side. So and again, this gets down to latency, offset and hit registration and all that kind of fun stuff. Real deep, boring video, but basically in the US and Europe, they're increasing the ping cap to 130. Everywhere else it's going to be 200, and they have some problems and have had some problems with their own server and the way it's been set up, and they've rectified that too. And now for the bad news. If you sat through this for 9 minutes and listened to me babble all about networking and all that fun stuff, they have only released it in the CTE, so we are not likely to see it before next month in the rotation. I don't know if it's something that they will suck out and put onto the game sooner rather than later. My thoughts would probably be they're going to leave it within the CTE and actually make sure that it runs functionally before they just dump it straight into the into the real world environment, so to speak, which, to be honest, is something that they should have done in the first place before dropping the spring patch, only to discover that they'd made problems or they've created issues within the server. So there we are. There you have it. That's the netcode update. That's what's going on. It's not down, it's not released, it's not dropped just yet, but it will come next month. So I assume it's going to come next month. I wouldn't see any reason why they'd hold off unless they find they've given themselves even more problems. But anyway, there it is. Hope you enjoyed the video. In the background will be some gameplay that I recorded earlier, and if you like the video, then please like, please subscribe. I really appreciate all the support thus far, and again, trying to grow the channel, and really grateful to everybody that's supported me so far and is liking and subscribing. I will be live streaming tomorrow. That's Saturday, 10 AM US time. That's 4 PM in the UK, plus 1 hour anywhere else in Europe, or 2 depending on how far out you are. And if you want to tune in for that, by all means give me a shout, and you know, we'll have a chit chat in the live environment. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Catch you next time.